fix that. And that's my goal. Okay, so with that being said, Prehab, don't rehab is what we're going to be talking about. It's an injury prevention program that you can all do here at work at ECC. And I wanted to start with this quote because I think it's very profound. Okay, being injury-free in the present doesn't guarantee that all is well for the future. Sometimes it seems that the body is coping well, but after years of unbalanced forces, that's the key phrase right there. Unbalanced forces, a body structure breaks down and resists healing. So what we got to understand is that the body has a way of coping. And without us even trying, it learns how to compensate. So when we're in pain or things aren't really feeling good, I don't know if you've ever experienced maybe back pain. Maybe it's been back pain on one side of our back, and then a few weeks later, it subsided, then it switches to the other side of the back. Or maybe it was the upper back, and now it's the lower back. But what's happening is the body's gradually breaking down, and it's going to spread. And if it started in the upper body, it may end up affecting the lower body or vice versa. So the body's smart, and it knows how to kind of work around any kind of injuries or pain that we're experiencing. In regards to unbalanced forces, muscle imbalances is what we're going to pretty much be discussing today. We're going to talk about muscle imbalances, what that means, what overactive versus underactive muscles mean. When I was talking to Kia about this earlier, a few weeks ago, she was asking, what does overactive, what does that mean? So I'm going to break all that down. And then in regards to just my goal, it's simple, decreasing injuries in the workplace. I want to decrease injuries specifically caused by repetitive motions. And we're going to talk about what repetitive motions mean because it may not be as demonstrative as some of us may think, where it's throwing a ball or doing something really active. It can just be sedentary type of inactivity that can cause repetitive motion, injuries from repetitive motions as well. Okay, a little bit about myself. So at ECC, I'm the strength and conditioning coach. So I train our athletes. I provide programs, strength training programs in the weight room, conditioning programs, speed, agility, workouts for athletes to enhance performance and decrease the chance of injury. So when it comes to baseball, football, basketball, you name it, I want our athletes to be as strong as possible, as explosively as possible. If they're an endurance athlete, to be able to withstand the event, whether it's swim or whether it's cross country, and be as injury-free as possible. Also what I want to do is, because sometimes injuries, if I'm going up for a rebound and I fall and somebody lands on my leg, I can't prevent that injury. But if my athletes are as strong as possible, maybe it doesn't end up being something severe. Maybe it's an injury, but it's something that doesn't sideline them for the season, and they can get back sooner. And it's the same concept. Some of the concepts that I use with my athletes, I'm going to be basically explaining to you guys as well, so you guys can perform within your daily responsibilities. So I'm a strength coach / performance coach. I provide the injury prevention programs. My experience spans from Division I universities, UCLA, Cal State Northridge. I also trained athletes at the U.S. Tennis Association. So we're talking about pre-adolescent, maybe 12 to 19 top junior level players. I've worked with high school athletes as well. And then in regards to my private business, under Jones Strength, I've got clients different ages as well. So right now I'm actually training somebody that's 90 years old. And she gets after it. She wants to be able to play her golf on Fridays. She still works. She still wants to be able to go to work a few days a week. And so what I do is basically help her perform every day. And then what's the purpose? We're going to be talking about these 3 points right here. And in case you don't know what they mean, stability, we're just talking about trunk stability. Spinal health is very important. So being able to have a strong core. And in some of my examples later, we'll talk about what that means, core strength. Mobility is just range of motion within our joints. So shoulder mobility, hip mobility, ankle mobility. And then flexibility is the length of our muscles. Okay? So how many of us can actually touch our toes if we're standing up? Okay, that's good. 1 or 2. Okay.
My stomach gets in the way.
Okay, so that's going to be flexibility. Okay, now, as a strength coach or performance coach, I can't help it. I constantly evaluate movement. So whether I'm at the supermarket, whether I'm looking at you guys right now, I'm not judging anybody or anything, but just whether I'm looking at you now or watching some people in passing, I'm always kind of looking at movement. And I wanted to put these pictures up for a specific reason. So just to kind of get you guys involved, I think that I may see something different in these pictures than what you guys see. So I want to ask you, if we start with the top right with Serena, just shout out any kind of observations, whatever comes to mind that you think about when you see that.
Power.
Power?
Stretched out.
Stretched, that's a good one because I'm going to touch on that.
Hyperextension, yeah.
Hyperextension.
She's got a lot of muscles.
Strength. Okay. Okay, so what I see as a performance coach is somebody said, what did you say?
Stretching.
Stretching. So I'm thinking she's really reaching to try to hit that ball, and I'm thinking adductors. I'm thinking groin. I don't know if anybody's ever had a groin injury, but I'm thinking you got to be explosive in this sport. You got to be able to accelerate and then decelerate under control, or you get injured. Most injuries happen during sports when you're decelerating. So I'm thinking, okay, if she's flexible, she's mobile, groin probably shouldn't be an issue, but I'm thinking about her groin. I'm looking at her ankle, and if anybody's ever sprained an ankle, it's usually because of inversion. And she's not spraining her ankle, but I'm thinking, again, is she going to decelerate properly to hit this backhand? If so, her ankle should be fine. I'm looking at her forearms. I don't know if you guys can see all the muscles firing or activating in her forearm. Whenever I say firing, I just mean contracting. A lot of elbow and a lot of wrist issues come from tight forearm muscles. So I'm looking at her forearms. I mean, we've all heard of tennis elbow, correct? Tendinitis in the elbow. And then if we move over to this gentleman here, any observations that you guys can see?
Strain his back.
I was going to touch on that. That's perfect. Yeah. Okay, so the back. Maybe he's hot. You can't see his face. But, do we notice any similarities between Serena and this construction worker?
Forearms.
Forearms. It's a common theme, okay? And in regards to the back, we're going to talk about not just mechanics, but what muscles, if there are any kind of overactive muscle imbalances, let's say, yeah, that could impact his back, could impact his knees as well. Can't see his head, but if he's leaning forward, there's a good chance his head might be forward too, so we're talking about maybe some cervical, neck, or upper back issues. And then if we look at these two gentlemen here, any observations? Neck. Anybody ever experienced any kind of neck pain or neck tightness before? Okay, we're going to talk about that. Okay.
Back here.
Another similarity, forearms. So if you ever washed dishes or had to cut, repetitive motions, okay? And then in regards to posture, he looks somewhat neutral, but the neck, a lot of flexion. I can see some neck pain arising from that. His wrists start neutral. We all know about ergonomics, okay? And so the reason I'm putting this up is to let you know that injuries don't discriminate. So it's not just tennis players that get tennis elbow. Average Joes who don't play tennis, never play tennis, can get tennis elbow. Why? Because they're experiencing tendinitis in their elbow. Okay. So in regards to repetitive motions, why are we talking about that? There's a normal resting length within our muscles. And with repetitive motions, if we're going to do a movement over and over and over and over again, that muscle is going to contract and contract and contract and contract. It's going to cause tension on the tendons, and things can get inflamed. And so when the length-tension ratio is altered, that's when compensatory patterns begin, eventually leading to pain and maybe even dysfunctional movement. And I wanted to give you guys the best examples possible to kind of convey this. So has anybody ever heard of the term sway back before? I've got a sway back. Now what do we think sway back means?
Arch.
It's an arch. Okay. Do we know why there's an arch? Okay. So when people talk about sway back, it's funny. They'll talk about it like it's, you know, like freckles or like blue eyes. Like I just have a sway back. It's just how I am. It's a muscle imbalance. That's what a sway back is. So when my
I'm sorry.
yes.
Excuse myself.
Steve, what?
Yes.
Yes, you've been called to the phone. I'm sorry.
Okay.
They need you.
Okay. So
Sorry.
if an athlete goes to the weight room and they're saying, and they're kind of